Good evening. My name is Joan Rogers, and I'll be your moderator this evening. I'm a member of the League of Women Voters of Rensselaer County, and I live in Troy. This forum is your opportunity to hear from the candidates. Some housekeeping items are, please just look where the exit signs are, just in case there's an emergency, but it's probably best to look this way. Everyone, audience members and our candidates, please turn off all your personal electronic devices, cell phones, tablets, laptops, watches, anything that beeps. I appreciate that. This event was organized and sponsored by the East Greenbush Central School District and the League of Women Voters. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan, volunteer political organization that promotes the active participation of citizens in government. The League neither supports nor opposes candidates or political parties. This has been our policy for over 100 years. Our candidate events are intended to educate so that on Election Day, voters will be able to make informed decisions at the polls. League membership is open to any person who is 16 years and older, and please consider joining the League. I do have some information over here, and we have a great website where you just put in League of Women Voters of Rensselaer County, and you'll get that. Now, please note that the election this year will be on Tuesday, May 20th. The polls open at 7 a.m. and close at 9 p.m. Now to the candidates. There are 4 open positions and 5 candidates. The incumbent is Emily Steinbach. In alphabetical order, the new candidates are Cyndi Herron, Rob Marchiony, Rob Panasci, hopefully, and Robert Shane. Please note that candidate Rob Marchiony is unable to join us this evening. There are some changes to the terms this year due to board members' resignation. So there are going to be 3 3-year terms from July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2028, and 1 1-year term for the period July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2026. Note that the 1-year term is going to be filled by the candidate that comes in 4th place in the election. So that we understand the role of a board member, this is going to be just a brief description. The major responsibilities of a board member include setting annual goals each July, aligning the strategies, resources, policies, programs, and processes within these goals, monitoring the progress using data and open communication, maintaining a collaborative relationship with the school administration and the community. This is a working board with a number of committees that board members join according to their interests. Now, we have some specific protocols for this evening. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for an opening statement, 2 minutes to answer each question, and 1 minute for a closing statement. The timekeeper for this evening's event is League member Bob Rogers, and he's seated in the front row. He will hold up cards to alert the candidates. Yellow means 30 seconds left, and red means time is up. Questions will be directed to candidates in rotation so that everyone has a chance to respond first. And please hold any response to the applause to the end of the program. I'm going to begin with several questions for the candidates. If you would like to ask a question, please write it down on a card. And we have Linda Allen and Ashley Wizakowski, who are League members who will be taking those questions from you. Questions should be neutral in tone and addressed to the particular office, not a particular candidate. Please note that all questions must be in writing. Verbal questions from the floor will not be taken. Now we're going to start with 2-minute opening statements with the candidates in the order as they were randomly selected for the ballot and as they are now seated. Then we will rotate so that each candidate has the opportunity to answer a question first. We will hear from Emily Steinbach first.
Great. Hi, and good evening, everyone. First, thank you to the district for providing this opportunity. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting. Thank you to my fellow candidates here tonight that value this discussion. And special thanks to all of you who have come out to hear what we're all about. I'm honored to be here and to be speaking with all of you, whether you're a mom of a little kindergartner in the district like me, or a teacher, staff member, student. I'm here because of and for all of you. I'm a public servant through and through, and I hope to show you that I'll continue to be a leader and a voice you can trust in the district. So there's some information about me on the side table over here, so I'm not going to go into length about my background, but I will say that as a current board member and vice president of the Board of Education, my education and accomplishments in my decade plus of leadership in New York State government. And that's all on the card, and feel free to learn about me, but I want to tell you why I'm here tonight and why I devote so much of my time. 3 years ago, I decided to run because when we moved to the district, and we did move to the district because of the reputation here, and to give that to our children, my first interaction with the district wasn't a pleasant one. It was filling out paperwork that my own family was not reflected in that paperwork, right? So the paperwork included mom and dad spaces, and I have, a wife, and we have kids, and we're a 2-mom family, and that was not reflected. And so I got involved and started joining things, and ultimately ran for the board because I want people to feel included. I want a district where we all are represented. But through my time at the district, I have worked very hard to be a person of collaboration, to build consensus, to move the districts forward, and to engage in all of our stakeholders. And I've done a myriad of things, and I'm happy to talk about that more tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Rob, you're next.
Hi, thank you. Thank you, everybody, and wish everybody the best of luck. I'll put this closer. I'm running for school board because I want to give back to the community that's been so great to my family. My goal isn't to push a single issue, but to help ensure our district continues to be one of the best in the Capital District. I want to be a board member who is approachable, transparent, and genuinely open to dialogue. Every teacher, staff member, parent, and resident deserves to feel that they are heard and respected. Community engagement should be a core value, not an afterthought. That's why I was so disappointed by the board president's statement before last week's budget hearing. It did not feel like the board was interested in hearing from the public. The notice stated that the board will not respond to any comments made by the public. And if a response is appropriate, the board president or superintendent may contact the individual in the near future. That is not what I envision as open government, and doesn't give our residents any voice. It discourages public input and makes people feel shut out. When questions go unanswered, it erodes trust and leaves voting down a budget as the only recourse. That's not how open government should work. In my professional life, I have represented and appeared before hundreds of municipal boards. I understand how public institutions can balance transparency with order, and I believe we can do that here. Right now, residents can only contact the board through a single shared email address. That's not enough. Communication should feel personable, accessible, and responsive. There are going to be several new members of the board, and I welcome the opportunity to work with the new members as well as the existing members to make sure our district remains one of the best in the Capital Region. I look forward to your questions and working together on issues that matter, like teacher retention and recruitment, fiscal responsibility, and making sure our school remains the source of pride. Thank you.
Thank you. Robert Shane, you're next.
Hello, I'm Robert Shane. I want to thank the League of Women Voters, thank all of you in the audience here and online for your commitment to our district. And I want to thank my fellow candidates. It's encouraging to see that there are more of us willing to serve than there are seats available. My wife and I are proud parents of 2 Green Meadow Elementary students who have benefited from our amazing teachers and dedicated staff. I want to give back by bringing my experience and skills in service of this amazing district. Part of my experience was working as an associate professor at the College of St. Rose until 2021. I taught countless aspiring teachers, served on committees to develop academic policy, departmental curriculum, assessment plans, and developing programs that satisfied New York State Department of Education requirements. But one of the most transformative experiences for me was co-chairing our department's strategic planning committee, developing and implementing our 5-year plan that went from 2014 to 2019. As we took an inventory of our strengths and weaknesses, focused our vision and mission, and developed a plan to realize it, we coordinated at every stage with the stakeholders, with the faculty in our department, to make sure that everyone's voice was heard and their interests were represented. That was a philosophy and an ethos that was put into place by my fellow co-chair, someone whose model I still follow. For me, leadership is a collaborative project. It consists of grassroots listening, working from the ground up to make sure that we all have ownership of our shared future. And that's what the board and all of you could expect from me if I were elected. My commitment to serving comes from remembering where I come from. I come from a blue collar and pink collar family, and thanks to my supportive parents and public school teachers, I was the first in my family to attend college, doing a BFA at the College of St. Rose and a master's and PhD at Steinbach University. Thank you for this opportunity. I look forward to answering questions.
Thank you. Cyndi, you're next.
Good evening, everybody. I'm glad to be here. Thank you all for being here, and thank you for the League of Women Voters for giving us this opportunity to be here tonight. I'm honored to submit my candidacy as an East Greenbush School Board candidate. With over 37 years of education experience in public education, I'm very eager to bring that knowledge and my passion to serve the community in this important role. This decision to run for school board really marks the culmination of my career in education, where I have dedicated many hours and many years to the growth and development of young people. Over the years, I've had the privilege to work with children in pre-K all the way through higher education. So I understand the knowledge and the work that people put into growing our children. I'm retiring in June from my administrative role, and I'm happy to do so, but I want to stay committed to children and committed to the district. This gives me the time and opportunity, and I've waited for this opportunity. This is the right time for me because I have the time to dedicate. My motivation for joining the school board is to bring my diverse education experience to the decision-making table. Throughout my career, I've provided educational services in so many different roles in the classroom and as a building leader. These experiences have equipped me with the valuable expertise to student learning, curriculum development, and the very important job of budget development. My husband and I have been active members of the East Greenbush community since 2002. Our children graduated in 2010 and 2014 and had access to outstanding educational opportunities with many teachers, coaches, and many volunteers. I look forward to contributing my experience to this vital mission of the East Greenbush School Board, and I'm excited for this opportunity. Thank you.
And thank you. Now I'm going to start with some questions, and these again are 2-minute answers. And what we're going to do is start with Rob Panasci first. The first question is, what do you see as the major challenges facing the school district? I'll just say that again. What do you see as the major challenges facing the school district?
Thank you. First, before I started looking at the current budget situation, I had always thought the biggest challenge was what I would say is teacher retention and teacher recruitment to make sure we have and continue to maintain the best staff in the Capital District. But then as I started getting involved in reading and going through the budget areas, I noticed that we have a budget deficit that that needs to be addressed, and it's going to take, I think, years to correct. And I'm interested in helping that. I think some of the decisions that have been made in the past may have been short-sighted to help people through COVID, but now we are in a situation where we have to raise taxes and go over the tax cap, by the way, which I support and hope everyone will. We need this budget passed. The school is unfortunately going to cut 15 teachers and other staff, so we really need to support this budget, which is the most important thing here. I know that's not really about my candidacy, but it's a very important aspect. So those two things I would go back to is figuring out how we can deal with the budget crisis we're in right now, working through that, making tough decisions in the future. And I also believe we need to figure out and keep, it's not just for teachers, it's for everybody, is keeping your employment and finding a way to ensure that you can recruit better than the other school districts. Thank you.
Thank you. Robert Shane, you're next.
Yes, certainly the budget is the most pressing and crucial issue at the moment. And particularly when it comes to cuts, cuts affect schools and communities in ways that aren't measured on a spreadsheet. It can be demoralizing for faculty and staff. It creates a lot of fear and a lot of uncertainty. It can create a feeling of deep loss for teachers, students, parents. It can harm a district's reputation if too much cutting begins to happen and people want to opt to move to other districts. So, finding a way to maintain fiscal responsibility, to keep programs, to support our teachers, it's a very complicated task. And I currently work at the University at Albany, so I'm familiar with working as someone who's accountable to a public budget and trying to be resourceful and care for our community, because the budget's more than just a spreadsheet. It's how we care for our community.
Thank you. Cyndi, you're next. And if anybody needs for me to say the question again, just let me know.
I believe that there are a few challenges that we're facing as a district. Right now, the challenge of hiring good staff. In order to maintain our high quality education at East Greenbush, we need to have quality, exceptional staff. So recruiting good staff, and more importantly, retaining good staff in the positions that they have. It is a very challenging hiring environment right now, so we want to make sure that we give the teachers the support that they need, not just fiscally, but also strengthening our relationships with staff so that they feel valued, that they know what they do makes a difference, so that they come to work every day and do the hard jobs. Supporting mental health challenges right now is a critical, important thing that we need to do as a district, supporting the initiatives of the whole child learning, the SEL, the social emotional learning that goes into the classroom, proactive approaches to giving students what they need so that all students feel supported and all students have the mental health support that they need. In this time of fiscal challenges and managing funding, looking for creative solutions, especially for those unfunded state mandates that come our way. We heard recently in the budget cycle, Jen Mulligan created conversations around the health care and how to better fiscally manage the healthcare. Those conversations and creative solutions need to keep going. We need to find ways that we can keep and retain the programs that help our quality education continue. We know we have a good school. We want to put the resources there. We have to make sure that we find ways to continue to support that and be creative during this difficult time.
Thank you. Emily Steinbach, you're next.
Sure, thank you. It's a great question and one that I think we often think about all the time, the major challenges, right? And you can flip it and say there are opportunities, right? How can we as a board do better and how can we be more informed going forward? And I strongly believe that there are some key components to that. The first one and one that I have pushed for this year and have initiated is a community engagement and strategic plan ad hoc committee. And this committee was charged with going out and figuring out how do we involve more of the community in developing a strategic plan to guide the district forward, right, these next X amount of years. And what that will enable us to do is more clearly define what are those things that we hold so valuable here? What are the things that makes this district what we call a lighthouse district that people want to flock to, whether it be students, community, families. I want to raise my kids here. Why, right? So we have to figure out and we have to have that clear vision forward. When we do that, you're able to make better informed decisions about the dollars, about where funding is going, and you know clearly your values and how, and you can start to chart a path forward on how to get there. And I'm sorry, I'm losing my voice a little. I've been traveling for work. So I think that, being able to do this, setting the goals in motion. We also are onboarding right now a new superintendent, and it's not a challenge, but it's something that we have to think about and how we're onboarding and how we're acclimating a new leader to the district. And so I think about that when we think about opportunities going forward. I also want the board to be more informed on the budget. And that means we have to have conversations sooner in the year. We have to be more informed about where we are at every given point. No one wants to be caught off guard. The public doesn't, and the board definitely doesn't as well. So we have to ask smarter, better questions. And we have to ask the questions to the leadership that, the community deserves the answers to. And I do believe that we have the greatest staff here in the district, from students to, from teachers to, staff around the buildings. And we have to figure out a way to honor that in the lean years and to hold that true.
Thank you. Question number 2, and Robert Shane, you'll be the first on this one. What are your thoughts on how to balance the cost of providing a high-quality education with the impact on local taxpayers? I'll do that one more time. What are your thoughts on how to balance the cost of providing a high-quality education with the impact on local taxpayers?
So that's always the difficult problem to navigate. One of the ways I think about this issue is that education really brings value to this district. When we invest in education, it's helping the entire community, right? If you're a homeowner, in the East English School District, we don't have like a big tourist economy. There's not some sort of big, museum or something drawing people. People move to this district and stay here and raise their kids because of the quality education. So there's families that grow up here. The children stay here so that they can raise their kids here. There's families like mine who moved here. We're now a family of 4 contributing to the local economy. So, if you're a homeowner and your property value has gone up over time, thank a teacher, thank the staff. If you're a business owner, I can't say exactly how many, but I would say a large portion of your customer base consists of the families of East Greenbush Central Schools. So right now we're going above the property cap. That is difficult for all of us. My own family, we're trying to decide between do we do this repair or that repair. It's a difficult time and there's lots of uncertainty. But we know that, by contributing, we're contributing to the entire community. We're contributing to everyone's well-being here. And I was really moved in one of the recent board meetings. There was a parent who was saying, that the special programs for her child saved her child's life. And she said, I'm on one income, but I'm willing to pay more. Please don't cut my program. There's a lot of uncertainty. It's very hard for all of us, but I think as a community, we need to think about how education raises all of the boats when we invest in it. I'll stop there.
Thank you. Cyndi Herron, you're next.
So one of the things that I do in my role now is constantly looking at that balance. I currently work at Questar 3, and I'm the Director of Student Support Services. So our services are what are available to the districts and what they purchase. So we're constantly finding the balance of how do we make our services affordable. Our services provide opportunities for students who are not able to be educated within the district because they have special needs. So we need to balance that, a high quality education, and try to keep our rates affordable to you, the district, so that you can purchase those services. So we're always looking at ways that we can do that. First and foremost, we need to look at what the students' needs are and use the data to drive our decisions so that we are looking at what the needs are, what are the learning gaps, the achievement gaps, so that we can make sure that the programs are intact and that we are doing what we can to enhance the students' learning while not creating a situation that's too unaffordable for our districts to purchase. So doing that, we need to look at how we can meet the whole child. I stand firmly in the position that students first. So always looking at that, looking at those foundations. I call it the big I and the little I. We need to make sure that the foundation of learning is intact. And when we spend money in that resource, and we're doing it with fidelity, we can make that argument all the time if we're doing what's right for students. What we have to be careful about is those extra things that go on that become very expensive. We have to use a lens to make sure that we're being equitable, that we're being fair, and that we're using our tools to better help students succeed.
Thank you. Emily Steinbach, you're back.
Sure. When you think about the high quality education and the impact on local taxpayers, like most things, right, there's a trade-off and there's an ebb and a flow to all of it. And you know, my day job, my real job, right, as a chief of staff at a state agency, every decision you make has a ripple effect or has a cause and effect and an ebb and a flow. And so if you take from here, what are you giving over here and things like that. And I think that, the district has done a really great job during the COVID years, right? We had an influx of federal dollars. Where did we put them? We put them to the mental health. There's the mental health crisis in the state, as we know right now. And I think like as ebb and flows, as you have, societal changes, and as, the youth, age and move up, you see these different sort of things happen. And that's how the money needs to flow as well. We need to put money towards the things that we need, but we also need to understand that might not be a forever thing, right? The COVID money was not a forever money. And so we were very, and this is my third year on the board, right? So, very, very, mild to taxpayers during that time. A lot of people lost their jobs, our own community, and cognizant of that. And if you take even the increase this year, if you span it over those last 5 years, we are at a lower rate than most of the other surrounding districts. And when you think about what we have achieved, right, with that kind of things and how we got through COVID and how our students are doing, our graduation rates and success and the variety of programs we offer is truly amazing. And I don't ever want to be, and no board member ever wants to be at a point where you're thinking about what do we cut or what do we take back. But the reality is that we did put in a lot of money and we did put in extra services for things. And so we need to have a real discussion about where the district is now and where we're moving forward.
Thank you. Robert Panasci, you're next.
Thank you. So I want to reiterate what Robert said too. I mean, I think there is a lot to be said about, and what Emily said as well, is about, being the lighthouse. We need to market that this is the great school district that it is, and it needs to remain. And how do you balance between high quality education and local taxpayers? It is a fiscal responsibility of the board to figure out how to manage that. It's difficult, it's hard, and I think we need to figure out how to make sure that we continue to meet that high quality education, even though we're having some cuts this year, and hopefully there won't be any more in the future. But when we say we have high quality education now, if we cut this year and we cut next year, bottom line is we're not going to be the lighthouse anymore that we once were, and we need to find a way to continue to be that lighthouse. And so it's going to take, I think it's going to take more than 3 years to figure out how to address it. But I'll say this, I'm committed to doing it, to help and try to figure out the best way, because without the teachers, without the staff, without every person that's an East Greenbush employee, we will not succeed and remain one of the top districts in the Capital District.
Thank you. I just want to remind people, if you have questions, to ask for a card and our people will pick them up. Now, question number 3, and Cyndi, you're going to be the first on this one. What is the best way to address differences of opinion on the board or between the board and administration? So I'll do that again. What is the best way to address differences of opinion on the board or between the board and administration?
I believe in open communication, transparent, good, bad, or otherwise. We talk about it. We make sure, my previous superintendent who I worked for would call it, put the skunk on the table. You need to talk about it and you need to support each other. The fact that we have wonderfully diverse people running for this board and the current board who's sitting will add to the conversation. We all bring something different to the table, but we all bring something that will contribute. We might not share the same perspectives, so we need to listen to one another and work as a team and practice the skills that I've learned and taught for students. I'm a school counselor by trade, so good listening skills, hearing what people are saying. I believe in healthy dialogue and healthy debate when it comes to disagreements, so that we can talk about it, we can look at it, we can bring our information with us. So I believe being a team and eventually collaborating, and so coming up with a shared decision that we can all agree on.
Thank you. And Emily, you're back.
Sure. This is one of my favorite questions because as a chief of staff, this is literally what I do every day, all day, right? And I love to take that over to the board, and board members can be smiling because, you know, I'm a broken record, but I truly believe differences are good. And I don't think anybody wants a board where everyone agrees on every single issue. That would be problematic, right? So the fact that there's inherent differences is a good thing, and I welcome that. Now the where you get into the sticky parts is like how you address that and how you have a conversation. One of the first things that I did as I became board vice president, the beginning of the year, we did a retreat. And we brought in an outside person and we went over, what are your roles as a board member? What are you supposed to do, right? What are we in charge of, and what is outside of our scope? And when we talk about our role and our responsibilities, we also have to talk about shared norms, right? And our values, and what are we honor when we sit around this table and have a discussion. So I think setting that foundation and that framework is critical and key. And I plan, if I'm reelected, I plan on having another board retreat as we welcome new members on and we refresh us all. The second thing, and I think is very critical, is valuing each voice. And it sounds so simple, but in the moment when you have a disagreement, you are so quick to grab the mic and to make yourself heard. And sometimes what I feel, and the role I always take, is I become the listener, and I'm trying to figure out where everybody stands, where are our commonalities, where are our big differences. And what I always try to do, and we've done it many times, is like I'll write down where folks are, what they believe, where they're on the dial. And then that's a great place to start. And how do you move forward? And at the end of the day, we all vote, right? And every vote does not need to be unanimous. I'm a strong believer of that. But everybody needs to have a process that we all value and we followed, so everyone feels heard. And at the end of the day, maybe the decision isn't the one I personally believe in, but I believe and I trust the board in their decision making and the value at which we got there.
Thank you. Rob, you're next.
But do you mind reading?
No problem. Let me ask, what is the best way to address differences of opinion on the board or between the board and administration?
That was okay. I don't need to repeat. Everybody said this pretty much what is the same thing about when you're on the board, but I will add, I think it should be an open session. We should all be having a discussion so that the public can hear it. That's my big thing about everything related to the board. Everyone deserves an opinion and should be heard. I agree with that. But with respect to how the board and how to address differences between the board and the administration, it's with everybody. It's not just with this board, it's with your job in general. It's not a hierarchy, it's a team. You are a team. We are the Board of Education. Mr. Simons is the superintendent. We have a new superintendent coming in. He's our teammate. The teachers, everybody, we are a team and we work together. And I think it's what Cyndi said as well, is that I think it's collaboration is the best approach and teamwork, rather than feeling as if you're, and I'm not saying they are, but maybe there's a sense of some people thinking that they're not treated as an equal. And to me, making sure everyone is heard, whatever their position is on the board and also with the administration, we want to hear it and we want to move forward the best way possible.
Thank you. Robert, you're next.
Yeah, in dealing with disagreements, conflicts, listening is key in my experience, both as an associate professor when I was at the College of St. Rose, working on faculty committees, faculty administration committees, my work now at the University Art Museum. You might think, well, what is curating at an art museum? How to prepare you for a board? But you're working with a public budget. You're accountable for that. You're working with facilities across campus, engineers, artists with ideas, a whole team. And one of the things you have to do there that you have to do on the board is just check your ego. You're building something and you're working on a team for something that's bigger than yourself. And listening, hearing everyone out, everyone has said that already. It's kind of basic manners. And I suppose ultimately when you have a disagreement, you take a vote. You have Robert's Rules of Order to keep people in line in the meantime. But yeah, teaching, one of my former professors said teaching is an egoless profession, and so is public service. So it's keeping, for myself, keeping my eye on the larger goal and the larger purpose, and being aware of the community that I would be serving on the board.
Thank you. Now we'll go to many questions that we've gotten from everybody. The first person who will be doing this is Emily. Wait, you just did. Wait, what did I just do here? Let's see. It's Cyndi.
So I think
Cyndi, you'll be next. Okay. Tell us what your definition is on school safety and what improvements would you work towards? Tell us what your definition is on school safety and what improvements would work towards that.
First again. Okay, great. Every student deserves and needs to have a safe school environment and to feel included when they come to school. So in order to do that, we need to make sure that we have strong systems in place, we have a good code of conduct, and that we have safe facilities as well. We want to make sure that we have wraparound services for students so that they know where to go. If there is concern about their safety and they have needs that they know, there's a system in place to report, to make sure that they can speak to the right people and that their needs will be met. We want to make sure that when issues happen of safety, that the systems are in place, that there is proper discipline and there's proper protocol to following for students to receive the right answer when there are issues. As I said, a district code of conduct. And also there are systems in place for students to make sure that they practice drills and that they know what to do, and to make sure that our facilities are safe and that we're following through with that knowledge base, that students feel comfortable, that people know what to do, and that we're working through it. It becomes more rote and natural for them.
Thank you. Emily?
Sure. And I do believe Cyndi went first last time, just so you know. So I think for school safety, and, thank you, Mark, for this question. It's a joke. Mark cares very much about safety. So for safety, we know that SROs are wildly popular, and we know that if we could afford it, we would have an SRO in every school in the elementaries. I think we see the benefit. A couple board meetings ago, the SRO here helped the students and be the change club, right? Put tiles about what is important about you, and he helped hang them. And I had a lovely talk with him about how he interacts with the kids and or the students. And, I think that we see the benefit of that. And I wish we could have one in every school district. I know that a lot of moms want that. The other thing I think about with safety is like, yes, we want physically safe schools. And I think we do a very good job. And we often talk about it at the board level. How can we do better? We just had another district approach us on how we can think about sending stuff home to families, right? And how do we encourage safety at home as well as in the building? But one of the huge things I think about when we talk about safety that we often miss is like psychological safety, right? Whether I'm physically safe coming at school, but do I also feel psychologically safe? Do I feel supported and cared about? And what are we doing about the bullying? And in the world of social media, you'll hear as a board member all the time about the social media, the TikTok. And I think that plays into safety as well, and how people feel, how students feel they can come to school as their authentic selves. And that matters, and we need to do better, I think, in honoring that and how to support students in every walk of life. So safety, I think, is very important, and I think we can even work on how we expand that. It's one of the three. It's a core pillar, right, in the board's view and the district as a whole. And I think we do a very good job with the resources we have and the people that we have in our schools, but we can always do better.
Okay, next, Rod.
Thank you. I would agree. I think the school and the Board of Education with Mr. Simons has done an amazing job. Unfortunately, a couple of years ago, there was an issue at the high school, and the immediate response from both the SRO officer, every person there, the outside, every police agency came, and you could see that there was a system in place. I'm sure there's ways it could be maybe fixed in some other way. I'm not an expert when it comes to school safety and police officers and how we should handle the situation. I would just say I was really proud of the way it was handled, and I think it was done in such a tremendous way. I mean, of course, if we had unlimited funds and SRO at every school would be great. I don't know how we could possibly afford that now, maybe someday in the future. But for now, I just want to commend what the board and what the school district has done for the safety of our students.
Thank you. Robert?
For school safety, it's important to have plans in place. I was at Green Meadow Elementary a few years ago when we had a lockdown. There was hoax calls coming in that there were shooters. At the time, we didn't know it was a hoax, so it's terrifying. I was dropping my two kids off, but fortunately, Mr. Garrett, the principal, he escorted all of us to one of the conference rooms. That's where I met who would eventually be my son's second grade teacher. But he stayed calm. He had a plan in place. It was clear that they had practiced this and they knew what to do. When I was at the College of St. Rose, I served on a committee. I had a very small part on it, so I don't want to take any credit from anyone, but some other members of the college had gotten a grant from New York State to implement sexual violence prevention and care at the college in complying with Title IX. And one of the things I helped to contribute to was how are faculty members supposed to be respond? What are the protocols? Who do we report to? When are we mandated reporters? That sort of thing. So making sure everyone, all of the staff, all of the faculty know what to do when any kind of situation arises is what's important. And from what I've seen, the district is already doing that. But you really need the input from the staff, the faculty, the administrators on the ground to know if there is maybe some sort of areas that could be improved, what they're seeing happening when they're, for example, conducting drills. How much time was that? A 30 or a stop? 30, yep. I'd also say the counselors across our district are great. Ms. Fontaine at Green Meadow Elementary, and supporting the counselors and the teachers who are working firsthand with the students is vital, because they're the ones that can recognize the problems. They see the dynamic that's happening, whether it's bullying, depression, whatever might be affecting students. So making sure that the staff are fully supported in the great work that they're doing.
Thank you. The next question, how would you handle being contacted by a parent regarding concerns with a teacher or administrator? How would you handle being contacted by a parent regarding concerns with a teacher or administrator? That's,
Am I beginning? Or, I'm sorry.
I think it's Emily.
yes, I think did I get that mixed up the last time?
Yeah, I think Cindy went first twice in a row.
Okay, so Emily, why don't you start?
Sure. So I love this question because as a board member, you truly don't appreciate that until you're actually in that role, right? But one of the things I quickly learned, we're avid walkers. We walk along the neighborhood. We have a very, involved community. And I learned very quickly you cannot and you should not, as a board member, right, take on these micro things. And I think it's important to listen and understand. So one of the things that, I had brought back to the board and we created this year is actually a communication guide. And this outlines every single, most like every question that you could have, what bucket it falls into. So if it's regarding your teacher or a comment about the classroom, right? Who should you contact first? Who should you contact second? Who should you contact third? And there's kind of like a triage right there. And guess where the Board of Education is? Literally nowhere, right? At the very, very end. And so I think it's important that we understand our role in these micro issues, but then taking back, well, I always listen, is there a larger systemic issue here? Like, is it not a one thing? Is it something that I can bring back? And I often say, I'll give a heads up if I hear something, or, I believe in open communication and I believe in giving folks a heads up as well. But really, I think, it's honoring and understanding what our role is as board members and what you should and you cannot take on. So I always, send people to that guide and that beautiful graphic that was made, and it outlines who you should contact and who you should call. I think all that to say is that when I am walking and hearing from people, whether it be a teacher in my neighborhood or a family member, or we're at, lacrosse practice, and, you're talking to folks, or, at the baseball field, I think it's important as a board member to always be open and hear, and it's not validating, but you're understanding what's going on and what's on the current concerns of people and folks in the community. And I do think that is critical in being a board member. You have to be willing to listen, but you can't come and try to solve everything.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think here, I don't like to use the word hierarchy, but there really is. I mean, the first question would be, did you talk to the teacher? And again, a board, and what Emily said is exactly exactly the point. What would happen if a parent complains is, well, did you talk to the teacher? Was there an issue with the teacher? Was there an issue with the principal? And then you just work through that. I mean, in the end, though, if a parent isn't being heard by anybody, and I think there might be a systematic problem. I don't say there is, but I suppose the first thing is whether it's my kid isn't, playing in a game. Well, that's not for the Board of Education to deal with. My kid, doesn't like the teacher. That's not up to us, right? We're supposed to make sure that the kids are getting treated fairly, make sure they have a good education, but we're not here to police a teacher or a principal or the superintendent about how a student is being treated or if they have an issue. But I do go back to making sure that, if we hear from it, we tell them, talk to the teacher, talk to the principal, talk to the superintendent, and then afterward, if there's no, I guess, correction, and then you ask the superintendent to address that issue.
Thank you. Next.
If I were contacted by a parent, it was a parent or just anyone from the community with a concern?
A
Sorry.
parent
Yeah,
with a concern.
Yep. I mean, first of all, as a board member, I just have to make it clear that I can't speak on behalf of the board, right? It's an opportunity to listen, to take these concerns back to the rest of the board. But the board would be bigger than myself, so I wouldn't overpromise anything. I think as a board member, and particularly as a board member gaining a thorough knowledge of the district and the resources, one thing that I could do, that any board member could do, is to point people in the direction of the resources or the person that they should contact. And it was great to hear as Emily was just saying, I guess you already have that in place, who to call for who, even though the board might be a little low on the list, but at least that would probably be the first place that I go. But listening is very important, because as echoing, I don't want to plagiarize, echoing what people have already been saying up here, there could be a larger systemic issue. This was my first time running for board, and what was probably the most important part of the process for me was gathering the signatures to get on the ballot, because as I went, door to door and people invite me into their homes, I got a very different perspective. I got both a more broader understanding and a more detailed understanding of the concerns that affect people across the district. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think what you said is really important. So I think our roles as board members and to create those relationships, you're going to open yourselves up to more of those questions. You want to be visible, you want to be approachable. So we would expect to have some of those questions sometimes, and it is important to answer people. And this is where my school counseling skills will come in really handy. To have empathy and to understand if a parent is voicing this concern, every parent wants what's best for their child, and so they're going to advocate. And we need to hear them and listen to them and then redirect them. So Emily, I'm so glad to hear that there is a place for people to go, and what we need to do is communicate that. Did you know that there is a resource for you? And I'd be glad to get you that resource. Here's what we can do. I think one of the things that's really important when people do share is that we follow up, whether it's a direct follow-up with that person or indirect in the way we conduct our business. We need to make sure that if they're going to trust us to talk to us, that we follow through. So I think it's really important to feel heard, but also to take that information and understand that it's a parent perspective, that there's probably a lot of steps between here and there, and redirect them back to the teacher first, then to their building administrator, and get those steps taken care of, and so that their needs will be heard.
Thank you. Now, Rob, you're going to be the next. I'm combining two questions. They're both on diversity. In this climate, how do you plan to facilitate the district with a diversity, equity, and inclusion plan and make sure that these important pillars are supported? And in addition to that, we have a question. What are your thoughts on working with children who live outside the gender they were assigned at birth? How do we support them within this diversity plan? So diversity, equity, and inclusion plan, what are those, and how to support those? And beyond that, children with who live with outside the gender they were assigned.
I think it's going to be hard to fit all that in 2 minutes with both those questions, but I'll certainly give it a try. I think with respect to diversity, it's a political issue right now, but I think you take out DEI from what the politics of it are. I think it goes back to, a really moral compass, and everybody should be treated equally. We need to ensure that every child, by the way, whatever its skin tone, whether it's religious background, or whether it's gender identity, I think we need to treat everybody as an equal, make sure they have a place in this school. So I want to make sure that we do that. And I believe the school is doing a pretty good job of ensuring that every person, every child has a place in this school. And I guess that would tie both. I think that ties both to both the diversity and the gender issue.
Thank you.
I'm fully committed to diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's been a part of my career as a scholar, as an educator, and it's transformative for students to see themselves reflected in a curriculum, to see themselves reflected in a classroom. It does no harm to someone who comes from any sort of privilege to hear about others' experiences. In fact, it's a moment to listen, to be empathetic. I grew up with a set of values very different than from what I have now, and they transform just by listening to people. Again, my career in the arts was about listening to artists who were just kind of slowing down, showing me their perspective, reading a book about someone's experiences. A lot of people are just being thrown under the bus or used as political pawns, by people who are talking about them abstractly. And if you just get to know someone's experience, maybe it's different than yours, you might come around to understand how they feel if you don't agree on everything. And that's true of race, ethnicity, religion. As to gender specifically, I think, again, I was a cis boy growing up, and I think of the pressures to be masculine, be a man. I can't imagine the pressures if you don't fit that, if you feel like you don't even fit your own gender, and there's already this kind of pressure. So yeah, just like a little empathy. Don't demonize people and their children for just trying to be who they are or figure out who they are. I think students absolutely need access to age-appropriate information on anything having to do with DEI. We need to be supporting our librarians and taking a stand for the First Amendment against any sort of censorship. We don't just protect the speech we agree with, we protect all speech.
Thank you. Cindy?
Every single student needs to receive the supports that they need to feel included and to feel safe. And to do that, we can accomplish that through rigorous, culturally responsive curriculum. We can do that by providing SEL supports and curriculum and support the people in the school who are doing the work, who are working with these children, creating relationships, giving staff the time and support so that they can have the clubs, the groups, the activities where they get to know the students and the students can grow trust to be themselves. Having open dialogue with the community and having collaboration and making sure that students have a place where they can be heard and have a voice. Equity-driven policies are very important, and we need to look as a board that our policies are driven by the inclusion. That is one of the board's models of success, is to have inclusion and equity. So our policies must reflect that as well.
Thank you. Emily?
Sure. Happy to handle this question. And obviously it hits home for me personally. And, I always think about, when to talk about my own life and my own family, right? I'm married to someone who, fits into that path, right? That question of your gender doesn't align with who you are or how you were born. And I personally feel like everyone should be able to show up to school as they feel and who they are, and that should be honored and respected by everyone, whether there be a peer or a teacher, and that just should be bare minimum across the board. When I think about DEI, I also often add an A at the end, accessibility, and I think that that's sometimes often forgotten, right? When we talk about the current landscape and the quote unquote rollback, it's my day job is chief of staff, and I've always worked for populations who we have to protect. So I currently work for the Justice Center for the Protection of People with Special Needs, and these are vulnerable populations, right? Vulnerable New Yorkers that we should be protecting, and how do we serve them? And I think that translates literally into every aspect of my life. I'll just say, I'll share a personal story. It's really easy to talk about it in broad terms, and to see how, you can talk about it on a macro board level, but these are real issues, right? My son comes home, a kindergartner comes home from school and says, so-and-so said that 2 women can't get married. And I look at him and I say, well, what about your family? And he knows, and he says, no, I said that, my moms are married and that's fine or whatever. And I want every child, and I want him to continue to go through life and to be able to stand up for his own family and whoever he chooses to be. And I think, that's really important. And when we talk about safety, it's right, that's the psychological safety component. And whether, he's in East Greenbush schools or wherever, you want people to feel like they don't have to shy away and shadow who they are because of the fear of how it's going to be received.
Thank you. The next question Robert, you're going to start with this. I'm going to do a combination again. These questions deal with the budget challenges for the most important considerations in adopting a budget. And the add-on one, many people move to this district because of the excellent special education services and programs we offer. What are your plans to maintain our programs, especially as we face cuts across all areas? Special ed teachers, speech pathologists, or psychologists, reading teachers, etc. When there are more students with disabilities coming into the schools. So this is really looking at the budget challenges, how you're looking at the important considerations and the special ed needs.
Well, I think the most important consideration with the budget, and it's, I think, what the board and the superintendent and administration have been working on, was trying to maintain the programs we have and maintain the quality that we have. People do move here because of the school district. My family did, and as I said earlier, that we end up contributing to the economy. The education is really our most important asset in this community. And I'm very proud to be part of a district that's supporting special education. And I think one of the important things to remember with that is, it affects an individual family differently. So you could be a family, you have one student who has special education needs, one child who has special education needs and one child who doesn't. So it's like, you're like trying to make the family choose between one or the other and which district they're going to be in. So yeah, we absolutely need to maintain support for these programs. And again, I'm proud to be part of a district that has done that.
Thank you. Next.
So building a budget needs to be done with a focus and a lens on students first. So knowing that we have a special needs population, it's not just special education, E&L students, we have an increasing percentage of E&L students, and that presents challenges for us as a district. But where we want to place our foundation of learning and the budget to support that is in those early years. Early intervention is very important, and making sure that staff have the supports they need for those reading interventions, those special education services at a young age so that we can intervene. The district has done a fabulous job in creating pre-Ks over the last several years, and having those systems in place, giving students that jump on learning is so important to identify what their special education needs are. If we can intervene earlier, we can give them the tools to be success and transition into general ed population. But it's important that we make this our foundation. I talk a lot with my staff, and they hear it, the analogy of baking a cake and making sure that your foundation, that your cake has all the right ingredients, that the chemistry is working, that it tastes good, but you want to have that foundation before we put all the other things on top. So we can enhance education, we can bring in all that specialized program, but we better make sure that that cake is built well so it can support all the other things, the icing on the cake, if you will. So I believe in spending the money at those foundational levels with early childhood, the pre-K programs, and early literacy.
Thank you. Emily?
Yeah, I think this is a really important question, and we touched upon this on the budget, right? How do you do? And I really truly feel like when you engage with your stakeholders, if we know where the community feels, what they feel is most important to the district, and we build a strategic plan based upon what our community feels and needs and what the students need, I think that when you come time to sit down and do a budget, you can see how that prioritizes and how that comes out. And that's not to say there won't be difficult decisions, but I think your most important consideration should be the ones that the community and the folks who go to the school tell you. I don't think that I should sit here and tell us what our most important considerations are. I have a voice, and I'll have a voice in that survey with everyone else. but I think we need to see what the community feels, right? And have that be the driver. I do think, when we talk about special education, my own, son receives speech and OT, and I think I've seen so many, tremendous progress this year, even more so than his previous area. And I'm a big proponent of pre-K. I think people will know that by now and are sick of me talking about it. But I believe in pre-K. I think it is extremely important. I think high quality and the pre-K in our buildings are unparalleled. And you'll hear that from the families. And so I would love to figure out a way to keep those and honor that because the community does value that. And there's a wait list every year for the pre-K program. So we know it's popular. I will say that, I truly believe that people come to this district because of the specialized programs as well. People know within the community which districts are the districts that are good. You see it on the forums. I don't know if, it's like 518 Moms and all these blogs, they'll talk about which districts are the best. And truly people move to those districts so that their child has the best room. And my son being in an integrated classroom, I can't talk most about how amazing it is. Did you hold up the stop? I couldn't really tell. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Look, with every budget challenge, it's going to be difficult, but just like I would say, and I think Cyndi said it too, is students are what's most important. It doesn't matter what class they're in. It doesn't matter whether it's pre-K or up to 12th grade. We have to find a way to maintain special ed programs. We have to find a way to maintain all gen ed programs, including, any program that's available to the students. How we get there and how they have been doing there, they've been doing a good job with the students. Our firm, we represent a lot of parents with special needs, and we don't have a lot of cases in East Greenbush. I'm not going to name the ones where we're always in, but those are the so-called other good districts, okay? And there's a reason for that, and that's because of the school has maintained the programs and has learned how to address all those needs. And what we need to do now is continue to maintain them. We cannot cut those programs. We cannot limit any of those programs. And how we get there, again, I don't want to be a broken record. It's figuring it out with fiscal responsibility.
Okay. The next question, this again, I'm combining them. How can we prioritize maintaining and improving student achievement? And that said, how do we work with laptops being an important part of the learning tool, but that they present challenges, and how can we work all of that around? So prioritizing and maintaining and improving student achievement, and also looking at how computers work into that. Cyndi, I guess.
How we prioritize maintaining student achievement is making sure that we have high quality instruction, that we're recruiting and hiring exceptional teachers. And I've mentioned it before in my answer previously, we also have to retain our exceptional teachers, making them helping them feel valued. These have been really challenging years, and retaining people in this field, they're leaving the field of education because it is challenging. COVID was real, and the impact of COVID has been real on our teachers and our students. And so going to work every day, we need to provide the health and safety of our programs that support the health and safety of our teachers, and look for creative ways to recruit, work with the colleges, reach out and try to create those bridges to bringing quality staff to the district. I believe in data-driven, using assessments, looking at where our gaps may be, taking a close look and being okay with finding out that we do have gaps or we didn't do a good job, and then addressing that through that. We have really high quality education here, and that's proven in our test records and how students are achieving. So we want to make sure that we continue that by using the data to drive our instruction, but we can always get better. So we want to use that. I've talked about the whole child and making sure that we're meeting the needs of the whole child so that we can prioritize student achievement, because there is a nexus between students feeling safe and their mental health needs being met and their achievement, and we know that. So that was what I would prioritize.
Thank you. Emily?
Yeah, thank you. And I think this is a great question because prioritizing a student's achievement looks different for every single student, right? You're not just talking, yeah, we have to talk about the high achievers. This district does a really great job. We have so many amazing pathways and programs. I'm like continually blown away when we hear about them on the board level or they come to talk. It's truly amazing what this district offers. And all the different ways that we push students academically and we ask them to achieve more, and they're driven by that as well. I think that one of the really great things about this district is we meet the students where they are. And I do think like what your achievement as one student is not the same as another. And so I think we have to be really cognizant when we talk about that and we understand the lay of the land for all the different programs we offer and how one student's success could be going to, into a trade or BOCES, or, we talk about all going into the military or some kind of, that's achievement, that's success, right? And so it's not just, the AP courses, the extra things and the SEALs. So I just always want to preface that I think we already do a really great job. And yeah, there's probably ways to improve that. And yeah, there's a delta there. And one of the great things I liked about the incoming superintendent Coates was that he talked about how do you go from being good to great? And I think that is an amazing mindset. It's like and I argued back, I'm like, but we already are great. Like what's after great? And so but I think that mindset applies here. And it's like, no matter where we are, how can we do better? How can we move that dial a little bit? A 94 graduation rate. I don't know if that's accurate. I think that it's 94%. Yes, thank you. How do you get it to 95? How do you get that little extra mile? What does it mean? And how then do you implement that? And I think that that's where we work collaboratively with everyone.
Thank you.
Do you mind repeating the question again? Because I'm trying to figure out how you tie a computer. Wasn't there something with a computer?
Yes, it was, how do we prioritize maintaining and improving student achievement? And I added, to combine that, we use computers a lot, but that does have its challenges in terms of how people maintain and improve their achievement. So I hope I didn't make that too difficult.
You did. Maybe I shouldn't have asked.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Yeah, no. So like, I think the first part is what, what everyone just said. But related to that, what the new superintendent said is don't rest on your laurels. We are doing great with the students. And again, student achievement for some may be going to college, military, trades. We need all three in this school district, and it's doing a great job of that. But we need to maintain that. And that's what it means. Don't rest on your laurels. With respect to, student achievement, and, I think they've pretty much hit on that, how we do that. But it starts again, everything to me is teamwork. Teamwork starts with parents, students themselves, teachers, administrators. We are a team. We work together. We listen to parents. We listen, not just we, but generally speaking, we all try to work together for that student achievement. With respect to the computers, it's hard. I think we, starting with kindergarten, I don't know what they do in pre-K, but, computers are not the wave of the future. They are the present, and students need to work with these computers. It doesn't matter whether you're going into the military or college or a trade. Everybody needs to know how to use a computer, and we need to continue the program. Everyone has a Chromebook. Younger kids have tablets. We need to continue that to ensure that the kids can continue to use their computers, learn how to use them, and that will help them, whether it's college or whether it's getting a job in the real world.
We have excellent student achievement in this district by any measure, whether it's test scores, the blue ribbon that was given by the U.S. Department of Education to Green Meadow, even popular polls in the district, right, the Times Union. And none of that just happened. It came about through the hard work of the teachers and staff who are on the ground working with the students. So the most important way to maintain student achievement is to make sure the teachers and staff are supported, to make sure they're heard. A great thing that we have that in this district at the board meetings is the departments will regularly give a report on the state of their department. It's also important to hear from the faculty body as a whole. What are some of the issues that the faculty are seeing among their students across the board, and not just siloed in a different department. So the different departments are presenting to the board, competing for the same funds. But what are they seeing holistically? I used to teach teachers when I was at the College of St. Rose, and I know how rigorous the program is in New York State, along with Massachusetts, one of the most rigorous programs for education and licensure. So these are experts that have valuable knowledge. They're seeing what's happening with the students, and we need to ask them how we can maintain student achievement and what they need, both financially and other types of support. As to computers, again, that's a question that I would defer to the teachers. What are they seeing in the classroom? Are students distracted on the computers? Are the computers helpful? Are some programs expensive and not useful? Are there other programs that we do need? So that's where, as a board, we really need to be listening to the staff and to the teachers to make these decisions, because they're the ones who know, and they're the ones who have the expertise that, yep, thank you.
It is the end, and before we hear the closing statements, I wish to thank all of you for demonstrating your civic interest by attending this event. And I want to thank the candidates and the audience for the respect you showed throughout the evening. Remember, there is the league material over here, but most importantly, don't forget to vote on Tuesday, May 20th. The polls again are open from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. and encourage family and friends to vote as well. Now we're going to have the closing statements. Each candidate will have 1 minute. And Cyndi, you're first.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you again to the League of Women Voters for hosting tonight. And thank you for my fellow board candidates and their perspective. I bring a strong commitment to public education, a deep understanding of the community's needs, and I'm a strong advocate for building positive relationships with our stakeholders, including students, families, educators, and community members. I will be a voice for everyone in the school district. During my career, I've worked to ensure collaboration and communication as they are central to success. These principles will bring a key focus in my tenure to the school board. I will listen, lead, and make thoughtful, data-informed decisions. My vision is a district where every student, regardless of background, has access to high-quality education supported by great teachers, engaged families, and strong community partnerships. I envision schools that are safe, inclusive, innovative, and future-ready. I want to leave a legacy of stronger academic outcomes, more equitable opportunities, and deeper community trust in our schools. If I can help close or increase the achievement of our students, strengthen support for educators, and ensure smart, transparent budgeting, I'll consider my service a success. Let's move forward together.
Thank you. Emily?
Thank you so much. So in my opening statement, I spoke a little bit about why I decided to run, and that was about 3 years ago. And I'd like to highlight some of the things that I achieved during my first term. I was elected vice president by the peers. I initiated the communication guide for parents that we spoke about. I have attended numerous theater, sports, musicals, PTO meetings, and community events. I was a member of the Portrait of a Graduate Planning Committee. I initiated an ad hoc committee for community engagement. I attended multiple New York State School Board Association meetings and trainings. I drafted transition goals for our outgoing superintendent, and I've led the transition of our new superintendent as a first point of contact. All that to say is I listen, I show up, I support, and I lead. I've worked very hard to be a member of the district that helps us achieve our mission and to do so in a way that values all voices and honors collaboration. I really hope that you'll allow me to continue to do this for another 3 years.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks to the League of Women Voters. Thank you for everybody. I will say this was enjoyable. I thought I heard a lot of good things, and the school district will be in good hands with any of the candidates that are elected. I'm running for school board because I deeply care about our community, our schools, and the future we're building for our children. I believe in open government, respectful dialogue, and the importance of listening to every voice, whether it comes from a parent, a teacher, a student, or a concerned resident. Our district remains a place where people feel proud to send their kids, where educators feel supported, and where decisions are made with transparency and trust. I bring experience, commitment, and a genuine desire to serve. If elected, I promise to be accessible, honest, and accountable to you. Thank you for the opportunity to earn your trust and your vote.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you again, everyone. I want to serve because I want to serve our community. It's an uncertain time, regardless of your political views, and we're all worried, and it's time to come together as a community to support this district, support education. As I said before, it's the most valuable asset in our community. As we invest in it, we're investing with all of us, whether you have kids in the school district, kids in school or not. I stay focused on the opportunities that I was given, coming from a blue-collar family and the commitment of my teachers. I've tried to pay that forward. I was a literacy volunteer for Literacy New York of the Greater Capital Region, helping adults who didn't have the same opportunities that I have. I've been a committed collaborator across my career at different institutions, educational institutions, and I'm committed to service and education and hope to serve the East Greenbush Central School District. Thank you.
Thank you. Because we've spoken all about services and programs and budget, I just want to point out that we have the budget newsletter available if you'd like to take a copy. Thank you very much.